I don't know if I've said this before, but the way to get rid of war on this planet is to get rid of all the militaries. And how would you get rid of all the militaries if everybody's going to be afraid? Well, they're going to cross over into our territory. Well, you still have your police, and if you had everybody combined, not combined all their forces, because nobody needs that big of a military on the planet. What we need is a quick reactionary military force that is combined with all the countries got their people, and they got equipment or whatever. Maybe they all just put it in a pile and they get certain kind of equipment, so that we all know what kind it is, and it's not, and we could get rid of all the nukes, because we don't need, if you have nukes, then you're going to have a contest of war. And if you don't have a military, if it's just one military that's a reactionary force that can take care of anything like a civilian uprising, you're still going to have police force, and you got internet, and you got all these people say, "Oh, this is happening here, this is happening here," and instead of having countries control it for political reasons, or uh, for benefits of just the political leaders and not the people, because people always get screwed in every war. Look at all the death and destruction of houses and people and death and kids and all that stuff. Little kids probably out playing, bouncing a ball out in the, because their mom told them, "Hey, don't go out in the street because there might be a army vehicle run you over." So they got to play in the yard, and then a bomb drops on their house and kills the whole family and the whole block. But anyway, you know, it ain't right. It ain't right to have people, civilian people, that don't have nothing to do with a freaking war. And you think, well, yeah, but they got yeah, you got your bomb factories and stuff where they make military stuff. And realize that was world wars. That's the military. That's the involvement back then. But if you get rid of all these countries needing a military, we could get rid of all the nukes if we had a one world reactionary force. It could be, it could be. You wouldn't have one person in charge of it. It'd take multi people. In fact, it'd probably, it'd take maybe not. I don't know. I wouldn't want the UN running it, because the UN would go putting out forest fires with them, and that's not what they'd be for. And maybe there ought to be a emergency reaction force. Think of the jobs that could create if there was a one world reactionary force for emergencies like fires, earthquakes, and they just you already have. It's happening all the time. So these people, all the jobs, and can you imagine all these people that are crying and moaning that they don't have jobs, and they love this and they love that? They could have a job going putting out forest fires, or wiping oil off ducks, that are from an oil spill. A one world emergency reactionary force, a one world military reactionary force. Who knows? One world, one world emergency reaction. It'd help people in need all over, and that would be a huge. That would employ a lot of people, and everybody would put into it. Every country would put into that, instead of just one country doing it. If you have the whole planet feeding into one thing, instead of saying, "Well, we're going to give you guys a little money." This is all politicians. This is how they work this. They say they could hide all this money that goes out of taxes, and instead of trying to get together a bunch of people, volunteer here and volunteer here, you already have a force in place. And you tell me that they wouldn't be volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, tornadoes, floods. Every country has problems, and if a country makes a problem, then that's where the UN would come and say, "Hey, and the whole world, we'd be able to, we'd have to somehow control these people in politics and these elitists. I'm not talking products, but they want input on products. If because that's where they make their money, is knowing the input. But these political leaders, they're ruining they're ruining this planet by saying this needs to happen and this needs to happen, and they go fight these people here, go fight these people for an argument. Instead of saying, "Hey, let's have a one world mediation group. Maybe that's another thing. One world mediation group where they go around and it's all televised and it's just the media. There you have one world media, and they go around and they televise all these problems that people have, and people can get online and put in suggestions. Of course, you're going to get people, and you don't censor it, and you just have to say, hey, there's people that are idiots, and but you find out, then you have people working for the media. They're going to search through there and say, here's good suggestions, and they got to be qualified to be able to. They can't just be an idiot saying, oh, here's a good one. This is my helps my agenda. No, hey, you can't have that. Got to get people that with a one world mindset. I'm not talking like one world government. You can all have your own governments because you got your own religions, which I don't agree with. I mean, religion has animals killed and everything else, and, sacrifices and meat eating and all that. But you're still going to have your cultures and all that. So you're never going to be able to have a one world like leader because nobody's going to agree to it because everybody wants their own culture. So you're not going to have that. But you can get rid of all these other problems that individual countries create by being individual countries. Now, they could be individual countries with their economic system. And no, I wouldn't want to pay taxes to help somebody out. We could, suggest, hey, why don't you people, what the world needs? It's just like everything else, These people, they want to be in control, and they get these idiot political leaders in there that don't want anything but to be in control, and they're not problem solvers. That's another thing. They got all these people jumping in. They're not problem solvers. They're troublemakers, and they need to be ousted. And not ousted by a military, not ousted by bombing, not ousted. They need to be shamed out of office. You'd have that one world media going around covering the events, and you wouldn't have to be all in one place. You could be covering different plots because you got the bias. They'd have to be an unbiased media, though, And as soon as you'd have to have laws in place controlling their movements and all this. I mean, I'm not talking communist control. I'm just saying you can't go there and you can't say, you can't take a side. And you just have to report what's going on and mediate and take people's input. You have to be able to take people's input. But I think this is what this world's. You got 7 billion going on 8 billion, and you got nukes. We don't need nuclear. We don't need all these nukes. We don't need all this uranium, all this radiation. We don't need it. We don't need it in the ground. We don't need the missiles. They upgrading every 5-10 years. No, we got a new missile system. Oh, we got a bigger, better nuclear missile. And all the space programs. They're all up there in their clutter, and it's gonna look like freaking Saturn's rings up there in 100 years if they keep doing these space programs. It's gonna be big, giant things it's going to be like Saturn's rings, all this space debris that they keep taking up there and keep losing it, and all this stuff. They have fuselages floating around up there, and they don't, it's like 50 meter long fuselage. I don't even know, 50 meter, 10 meters long fuselage or 20 meter long fuselage, and it's floating. They're going like 53,000 miles an hour in an orbit up there. And then one day they drop to Earth, but right now everything they put up there is like, oh, we're in the way of all the space debris. It's outer space stuff, but it ends up being all that litter that all these people, all these different programs are putting up there, and they don't care. And they're probably thinking, well, we hope it knocks out their program, so our program can hit the spotlight, and everybody will be looking at us. And meanwhile, this platform or this, not saying we need to be in space. I'm just saying. These countries are just running without rules, which the world needs rules, and as far as how it affects everybody on the planet, so maybe somebody ought to be talking about this. I am, but nobody listens to me. But maybe one person that's popular will hear this and maybe be able to build it up or something. Anyway.